All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Quarantine Football. I'm one of your co-hosts, Nate. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Dorian. Dorian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Nate. I'm super excited for today and ready to talk some football.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited, especially because we have our very special guest today, former Broncos cornerback, also CFL cornerback, Marcus Rios. Marcus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited, to speak with you guys and share myself more with you guys and, show the world.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely, absolutely. So, something that we always like to start off these interviews with, just a very broad statement or just a way to kind of kick it off is, how did you know that you wanted to play football, and how did you kind of get from like your childhood to like where you are now in terms of your football journey?
My family's been a big time football family since I was young. And so I honestly knew, since I could remember, probably about 3, 4 years old, running around the house, playing football, playing with my brothers and sisters and stuff like that. So I definitely knew at a very young age, like this is something I really wanted to, take serious and, make a living out of.
Yeah, and then when did you lock into like the cornerback position? Like, what was your journey through like the different positions of the sport?
Well, I've always been an athlete, so I was very athletic, so I played a lot of different positions. But as for a cornerback, I really locked in. Honestly, not till high school. Once I started getting a lot of offers and attention there, then I kind of focused down on one position, and I knew, okay, I could really go far at this position. So that's when I channeled in and focused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Kind of a question that I like to ask the cornerbacks, and I kind of feel like I know the answer. But
Yeah.
do you guys feel like you're the best athletes on the field?
Oh, definitely, definitely. We got to go full speed, and we're doing everything backwards, and we're guessing routes. We got to guess the route. The receiver knows what route they're doing. We don't know, and we're doing it backwards. So, I definitely think we are the best athletes on the field.
So you kind of spoke about going into your high school career, and you spent your college career at UCLA. Can you
Yes,
describe
sir.
for us what UCLA is like on game day, or even like just preparing for the game?
Oh well, UCLA is big time football. I had a Coach Moore there. He's a former NFL coach as well. So his that NFL attitude and mindset. I learned that since day one coming in there as a true freshman. So the game day atmosphere was amazing. I remember the first time I played. Versus USC in a Rose Bowl with 50,000 plus there and packed stadium and this going through the tunnels and doing the Rose Bowl walk when we go in the stadium and fans cheering. It was an amazing experience, man. I had the funnest time of my life there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. When you're in those kind of like bowl games, high pressure situations, like actually pretty much every play for you as a cornerback, like you're tasked with preventing. You're tasked with stopping for the receiver from getting to the end zone, stopping them from making a catch, and
Yeah.
that could always be pretty pressure inducing. So how would you say that pressure as a cornerback, and in those big moments has really like defined you as a player?
For me, I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy on preparation. My preparation is real strict. I follow a real strict routine, so I'm able to go in games and make plays. So it's all about preparation, which allows me to make the plays I need to make, and know the keys, know the calls, what to expect from the formations, the favorite route concepts, and everything like that. It starts with preparation, and that's one thing I learned being at UCLA, with Coach Moore, with bringing that NFL attitude. We studied a lot, we watched a lot of film, and it just came, they made it fun, and it was just a habit, and that's how I was able to perform good on game days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Making habits out of the things that are going on outside of like off the field and on the field. It's definitely a really good way to prepare, and a way to prepare for the more difficult aspects of playing corner and pretty much every position on the field. And me and Dorian, like as fans, as NFL fans, and as just football fans in general, we watch from this vantage point where we can kind of see the entire field. We can see everything that's going on at once. Whereas, like on the football field, I'd imagine the experience is very different.
Yeah.
And fans have this tendency to like criticize often. Like they're like, oh, like he should have
Yeah.
been there, he should have been there, he should have been doing this.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't really know like what actually should be going on most of the time.
Yeah.
So what would you say, as someone who's on the field, as someone who's playing quarterback, what would you say the toughest part of playing your position is that a fan that's watching casually might not really expect?
Well, things change. A coach calls a play, and the receiver can do one thing, or they can make a check, and it's a whole entire new play. And then one play could really be 5 plays in one. We got different calls, different checks, and stuff like that. So really, it's just as for the criticism part, I just tend to forget about it. I don't really tend to think about that too much, because I know someone's always going to have something to say. So I just focus on my game, and I play my game to the best of my ability I can.
Yeah, and obviously playing to your ability got you into the NFL. You
Yes, sir.
were an undrafted free agent for the Denver Broncos. So what was that like, getting that call? I know, like, everyone goes in the draft hoping they get called, but even after
Yeah.
the draft, it's huge when you get a call. What was your attitude, and what were your feelings?
My attitude was great. This is something I worked hard since I was a kid. I put in countless hours. Honestly, I started training this way at the pro level since 6th grade. Shout out to my big brother, Brandon Thompson, in the Sacramento area. But he took me under his wing, and I was training at a high level since then. And, it didn't stop. So from 6th grade, 7th, 8th, and for so on, and to work hard all those years to finally see it pay off, and being able to see the smile, and all my family happy and cheering for me. We completed the mission. This was a mission since I was in 6th grade. And, we got to get them to the NFL. So my family just really helping me. Every person in my life had a certain role, that took time for me to get there. So that's exactly, just seeing their smiles, it just paid off. Realizing like my childhood dream just came true.
Definitely, man. And I mean, you were in a cornerback room with guys like Chris Harris Jr.
Yeah.
I believe I'm not 100. Keep Talib was still there, I believe.
Yep.
Like, what was that like, to be able to be with guys, veterans like that in the NFL?
Man, it was crazy. Like, even Champ Bailey's around a lot, so I was even learning from him. But Chris Harris, Akeem Talib, T.J. Ward, Justin Simmons, all those guys, they really just took me under their wing. They were real good guys. I was nervous at first, but anytime I had questions, they would answer. They would help me on the field, and just learning from them, learning from the greats and future Hall of Famers. It was just a real great experience, and it really taught me a lot about my game and how I can improve on my game as well.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. And also, on that Broncos team, you guys at that point and currently too, had like an absolutely vaunted pass rush there. How did
Yeah.
that impact like the ability for the corners to play? Like, did that give you a lot more freedom? Like, was it fun to kind of be? What did it make it more fun to like be on your assignments, like be playing there when you knew that you had the pass rush screaming at the quarterback every play?
Well, that's something every DB, wants is the line, and the line doesn't get enough credit. So I always make sure I give the D line credit. But, to be able to only have to cover for 2 seconds instead of 4 or 5 seconds, or, that's a plus. And, the quarterbacks with that pressure, the quarterback's going to throw them right to you. So as long as you have, good technique, you're where you're supposed to be, you'll end up getting the play.
Yeah, and then like UCLA is obviously like a very high level program, play against a lot of very high level schools at the college level. But what was that transition like, going from UCLA to going to the NFL? Like, what would you say some of the biggest differences on the field were?
The biggest difference is really for me, because like I said, like with Coach Mora and all that, and my position coach, they were, they're NFL coaches. They put a lot of players in the NFL, so they prepared us a lot. So as for the like physical part and the mental part, I already had it. I came in day one, was able to study the plays. Good habits, practice habits and all that stuff. I was already to excel at that. That's part of the reasons why I was able to stick out in front of all the rookies. But I say the hardest adjustment would just be you just can't mess up. You mess up twice, you could be gone the next day. And that's something I learned, with my 2 years there. It was just like, you'll see a guy there and then, they mess up on 2 or 3 plays. Next day, you see a brand new guy, or you're leaving practice and you see 30 players trying out. So it's just being on top of it all the time. That was probably, not the hardest adjustment, but probably the most cutthroat thing. Like, you really got to be on it, because if you mess up, you never know. Like, they're always trying to replace you, always trying to find someone better. So that was probably the biggest change, that I wasn't used to.
Yeah, and how is that altered, like being an undrafted free agent? Because a lot of these guys that are drafted up in like the first round, second round, third round.
Yeah.
They have really high expectations coming in, but they also might have a little bit of a longer leash on them. You know, it might be like, hey, like if you don't perform the best this year, we still think you have a lot of potential, so we're going to keep you
Yeah.
around. How was that experience different? Like, what were some of the challenges associated with being an undrafted free agent?
Well, undrafted, you know, they're looking at you as you're a maybe guy. You know, you're just like, okay, let's see how he does in camp. You know, maybe he can compete, but you know, he's not really a priority. So that was my mission since day one. You know, when I get in there, you know, my presence will be felt. You know, I will be recognized, and you know, my work ethic, and I will outwork everyone. And that's partly, you know, how I got recognized. You know, put myself in a great position since day one. You know, the first day I knew all the plays. You know, I was playing corner. You know, nickel, safety. I knew how to play all the positions, and you know, during conditioning drills, I'm the first one done. You know, I'm going full speed. You know, coaches don't have to yell at me, do anything like that. I knew that was the only way, you know, I was going to give myself the best chance to make that team. And then, you know, that's exactly what I did, and they recognized that day one, and that's how I was able to separate myself from the rest.
Definitely. And you were eventually promoted up to the active roster, which is awesome for anybody to just be on the active roster on game day.
Yeah, that was really, you know, all the hard work paid off. You know, it was just like the coaches were telling me, Marcus Rios, you know, because a lot of times the NFL, you know, they wanted to move me up earlier, but it's all about, you know, roster size and all that. That's another change. It's strictly business. You know, college is more so about football. NFL, it's a lot more business. So, you know, things may not go your way just strictly on roster size, or someone gets injured, they got to move someone else up, you know. So, you know, I had to be patient, but, you know, all the hard work paid off, and I ended up getting activated and end up playing 6 games. So, you know, that was a great experience as well.
Awesome. And you've also spent some time in the CFL with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So 2 years ago, I was with the Broncos, and then I had got released, and then you know, I had to prove myself once again. So I said, okay. My agent called, said a CFL team wants to sign you. You know, go there, do your thing, and you know, you'll gain NFL interest after that. So that's exactly what I did, and you know, I took it same thing with the same mindset, the NFL mindset. You know, a lot of guys, you know, CFL was actually, you know, harder for the roster to make the team because they only allow, I think it was about probably 6 American DBs. That's all it. So, you know, we're at training camp and there's about 20 of us. So, you know, guys like me who were in the NFL, great players, you know, who just got released and needed another shot. So you're going against high, you know, caliber NFL guys. So it's like, and only 6 of us are going to make it because there's so much, you know, ratio on the team that you can have with Americans and, you know, Canadians. So it was extremely difficult to make the team. But once again, you know, day one, you know, I separate myself. I was versatile, was able to know all the plays, and it ended up going well for me. Ended up, you know, starting a lot of games, and we ended up winning the Grey Cup championship my first year. You know, and that was something, you know, my CFL team hasn't done in years. So, you know, to play a part of that, to say, you know, I was a part of history and, you know, wear that championship ring around and, you know, I also end up gaining more NFL interest as well. So I'm training now, you know, I got a couple workouts coming up. So, you know, I'm just, you know, hard work pays off, man.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you were talking about some of that competition, like among the team when you were vying for a roster spot there. But I was also thinking about like competition, like between the teams, obviously, you know, game day type of competition, the CFL. We see a lot of guys that are like out of the NFL, go to the CFL, and they're still like maybe they had lower expectations for the CFL and they still don't play as great as a lot of people would expect. But with you, you know, you really showed out on the field. You had a crazy pick 6 during the season. That was nuts.
Yeah.
But I mean, like what were some of the what would you say are some of the keys to success for you transitioning from the NFL to the CFL that made you able to be successful on the field?
Really just preparation, and I'm a workaholic, so I work my technique. I knew it was going to be a challenge, you know, especially as a DB in the CFL. It's a lot harder to cover. You're doing a lot of running, and it's so fast paced. So you got to be in shape. Your cover skills have to be on point. There's no room for mistakes because, you know, the receivers have a, you know, head start running at you full speed. So you mess up, you false step once, it's over. It's touchdown. So, you know, that was something I had to focus on, was really challenging my, you know, technique. And, you know, that actually made me a better DB now. So I feel like once I get my next opportunity at the NFL, I'm going to be a whole lot better because of that. You know, just, you know, on my technique, I really had to focus on that.
Yeah, definitely. You're someone who you said that you're like really about the preparation, about being ready
Yeah.
for the game. I think that's an amazing way to approach football. But when you think back to to your NCAA career, to your NFL career, to your CFL career, just as a whole, what would you say is like the toughest or one of the toughest offenses you've ever played against, even despite preparing for them? Like what was an offense that really caught you off guard or really like went at you hard?
I would say, let's see. I would say USC was always a challenge. USC was always a challenge. That's our rivalry. They're always, putting new stuff in. They're trying any way to, get back at us. So definitely USC. They always brought their A game. And outside of that, that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Like, didn't really see too much difference. And I've always been very well prepared. So it was like nothing we never seen before. I expected everything. Pretty much was thrown my way. That's how I was taught. That's how I was learned. So nothing really, outside of the ordinary, made me, nervous about anything because I knew I was well prepared. So I know, like, no matter what, they could have those unscouted looks. When it comes down to trusting your preparation and your technique, and you got to learn to adjust. And something I am able to do is adjust on the fly. So, that's what makes me a special player.
Yeah, you talk about being preparation and also being able to prepare on the fly, but I was doing a little bit of reading, and in 2013 you were diagnosed with Aspergillosis, correct?
Yeah.
So
Aspergillus. Yeah.
Aspergillus.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, it's an extremely rare condition. But can you talk about
Yeah.
what your mentality was going through that?
Yeah. So, it was, like I said, it started my sophomore year. So as a true freshman, had a great year, got a lot of playing time. It's going in, okay, now I'm competing for a starting spot this next year. Then all of a sudden, boom, I just, end up getting sick. And, it started with headaches and, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and it kept getting worse and worse. And, by this time I'm missing a lot of practice. I could barely concentrate in school. And, it's like, so I went to the doctors. They thought it was just a normal sinus infection. So I didn't have about prior to them actually figuring out what it exactly was, I had about 4 surgeries. So that took me out pretty much, out of my whole sophomore year. Football was pretty much over. I had to redshirt, had to focus on my health. And then, but I was still going to practice then. I was still going to practice, still going to class, all that. So, I'm going to practice, every day with no sleep, not eating. It was extremely tough for me, but I'm tough-minded. I'm a tough kid, so I was able to, persevere through that. And the life-changing day where I knew something was wrong and, this eventually changed everything was one day I was in class and all of a sudden my eyesight just went blank, gone. So that's when I knew, all right, something's up. So then I go to the hospital. They actually rushed me to the hospital. I show up, and then next thing I know, like, I don't even really remember what happened. I was in so much pain, but I wake up out of surgery, and they had to do emergency surgery. So I woke up, and they're like, yeah, he has Aspergillus. It's an invasive fungal infection in the base of my brain and the left orbital of my eye, which is why my eyesight just went gone. So it was pretty much, this invasive disease that was eating me away since I don't know how long. I believe this started probably towards my last year of high school, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But that's exactly what they diagnosed me with. So I'm at 5 surgeries at this point. I end up getting 2 more, so total about like 7 or plus more. I so many I lost count. So like I said, that took a toll of my sophomore year, and then junior year was pretty much me trying to rebuild, get back on the field. But the most important thing I want to talk to you guys about was, while I was in the hospital, I did the surgery. I woke up, but that wasn't it. That was just the surgery, how they were able to figure out. So at this point, I was, I had 2 options, and the doctors told me, and I remember them, they didn't specifically, tell me, but I heard them talking to my parents in there. They didn't know I was awake, but I heard the doctor tell my parents, like, okay, we have 2 options. Like, it's either one is, to get to the infection, they were probably going to have to remove my eye. And I knew if that was going to happen, then, football was out the picture. So that was one option. The next option was not do that, wait and see if he responds to any medications. But if I don't respond good, my time was limited. They said I probably only had about a month left in me. Like I couldn't eat in there. I was barely sleeping. I was in a lot of pain. It was literally eating my brain and eyesight away. And, I was on 24-hour watch. So, it was crazy in there. So they were like, they told me I had those two options. So when I woke up and I'm kind of alert, my parents tell me and the doctors tell me, they're like, Marcus, what exactly, here's our two options. And the doctor's pretty much saying like, look, we're going to have to go in, remove your eye and, try to get to this infection before, it kills you. And I said, I asked them, okay, what are my other options? They're saying, well, and I had doctors from all over the world, coming in trying to help me. And they said, well, we can try different medications and IVs because I was taking a whole bunch of antifungal stuff, but it wasn't really working. So they said, we can try that, but if we try that, it's too late. And I was like, so they said, we'll give you time to discuss. I had about 30 minutes to discuss because it was, it was almost time. They had to figure out something to do. So then I talked with my parents. I'm like, look, mom, like, dad, like, my mom's like, there's nothing to think about. Like, you need to get your eye chopped out, and be healthy. Like, forget football. Like, we need your life. And I said, Mom, look, like, like something in me was telling me, God, was telling me to just wait, And, I'm real big on faith. And I never ignore when God gives me signs. So I'm telling my parents, and my mom, I'm like, yo, like, I'm telling you, God's speaking through me. I'm going to be okay. Let's just wait it out. I'm going to respond to some medications. And it took the whole day to, get my parents to agree with that, because I'm telling them, like, I'm meant for football. I'm meant for this. I know this is my purpose. God's telling me, and, God was truly speaking through me, And that's something that I'll never forget, It was like a voice in my head telling me, I'm going to be okay. Just, wait it out and, I'm going to take care of you. And that's what I told my parents. And eventually I got them to the side with me. It was very difficult. When you're signing waivers saying, if your son dies in the next, month, it's not our fault. And you hearing me saying, oh, I want to play football and God's telling me this, when a simple fix is this could be, not believe in your faith and go was rational and say, okay, cut his eye out, he'll live to see another day. And, but I knew I had, a bigger purpose. So, I told my parents that, we agreed to it. So it was a scary point at that time. And, so now I'm sitting here where, we signed a waiver. So I'm like, all right, this is it. Like, if I'm going out this way, I'm going out this way. But, I always stayed positive. I never thought about the negative, and I actually requested a room with a view overlooking the practice field. I knew I had to get my mind right. I knew I had to stay mentally strong as much as I could due to the medications and just all the stress. And I knew, like, a lot of stuff was going to try to tear me down from this. So I knew my mind had to be, as positive, as possible to, fight this. So that's exactly what I did. And every day I would wake up, with the little energy I had. My teammates had practice. Back then we had practice at around 5:30. I would get up, watch my teammates practice and really just envision myself getting back on that field and a doctor coming in saying, you're going to be healthy, you're going to play football again. So we did that for about 2 weeks. They found a medication that was called Aspergillus, and I responded well to it. And, after about a couple months, started gaining my eyesight back, started moving around again, was able to walk again, was able to eat. And then, about 3 months later, I'm out the hospital. So it was, it was an amazing story, but it taught me a lot and something that's, changed me forever. Like, Marcus, you're a tough kid, but, always keep your faith and, always work hard and always, work to inspire and help others because you never know what may happen. But the number one lesson for me was, I could overcome anything. Like, I just overcame the toughest obstacle I was ever facing in my life. So, after this, it was like, okay, I just beat death, literally. So football is nothing to me now. School is nothing to me now. Me being successful is nothing to me now. So, my mindset changed and I was more focused and, it was a great experience, but I believe it was a true blessing, for all my family and just being a witness, to help others, to show others, like, you can have the most devastating, event or the most negative thing that happened to you. But if you take it, if you stand on 10 toes and, you stay positive and you look on the bright side and you truly, truly give it all you got, you will make it through the other side.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's an amazing story, Marcus. I mean, that's very, very touching. And I was just wondering, like football is a family. Like people around football, they really care
Yeah.
about each other very deeply. How did other people respond like after you recovered miraculously and had I mean, you lost 50 pounds during the recovery process. And I mean,
Yeah.
when you when you got back on the field and you were practicing again, you were getting back into the game somehow getting back up to an elite level where you were still competing for an NFL spot. I mean, how did other people respond around you? Was there a lot of encouragement from people? I mean, were there a lot of NFL guys reaching out to you with encouragement? How was that whole thing after?
Oh, definitely. Well, but, shout out to, Coach Moore and UCLA. They always have my back. Just to the medical team and the staff, to the teachers getting me back on track, to graduate and all that stuff. Like everyone, was cheering me on. But one thing they didn't have to worry about me, they knew like my work ethic. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I'm 3 months out the hospital. You wouldn't even know I just went through that. You know what I mean? Like I'm out here running full speed and lifting weights again and this and that. Yeah, I had challenges in between, but it's like, you wouldn't even notice I went through that. That's how my attitude was. So like, everyone was able to feed off that and, they were able to cheer me on and, just help me out along the way to, reach, get back to the top again.
Yeah, and you've talked about how you think that experience I mean, it made football a lot easier because you're like, okay, if I could get through this, then I could get through football too. Like football is
Yeah,
nothing compared to this. Do you think that it worked at all in the other way around? Do you think that your background in football and your work ethic in football actually helped you through the recovery process to know that, you had that strong support around you, to know that you had a team, to know that you had the work ethic from football? Like, do you think that your football life before actually helped you with the recovery?
definitely. Definitely. And football is what I tell all the athletes, who I mentor, all the young players who I coach. And, football is life. You know what I mean? The way you attack football is how you're going to attack life. So you got to be, a team player. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to respect everyone. You got to be able to, help others. You're going to face adversity in football. Things aren't going to go your way. You're going to have bad plays. You're going to have bad practices. You're going to lose those big games. But it's how you respond. That's, how you eventually be successful. And that's eventually life. Life can be going your way. You can have the best job. And then now you see the COVID-19, the virus, and now people are losing jobs and, you might have lost what you worked hard for, but that's life. You know what I mean? So you just got to be prepared and, work as hard as you can. But, as long as you keep going, you will be successful. And the only person that could ultimately, stop you from being successful is you, so, football is life. And that's what I teach all the young guys who I coach, like treat football like life, responsibilities, getting up early, doing what you got to do, being prepared. All that stuff is going to help you be, perform better at life. So I would definitely say football definitely helped me, overcome this, infection that I had and ended up, allowing me to be successful.
Yeah, and I think that it's a really beautiful comparison between football and life, especially coming from you because you played cornerback. You still play cornerback and defensive back. And as a defensive back, like you said, you're going backwards. You're defending. You're trying to stop those big plays from happening. You're under
Yeah.
pressure. You're in tough situations. And
Yeah.
when life came at you with one of those tough situations, when you had to cover for yourself, when you had to go a little bit backwards and really defend from yourself
Yeah.
from this infection, you were ready for it. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah. And that's what I tell the athletes, adversity will strike. No matter how successful you are, no matter how good you're doing, adversity will strike. So have a plan when it's ready and, tell yourself you're not going to give up. And those who don't give up, they'll end up shining because, those who grind in the dark will shine in the light. So, you just got to keep going. That's it.
Definitely, man. Like Nate said, that's just an amazing story, and your football background and everything definitely helped you out.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
also for those who don't know, TikTok is kind of a huge deal. So that's actually how I was able to find you and we got in contact with
Yeah.
each other was through TikTok.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest part about it was you're using your platform as a way to teach not only football fans, but all athletes. Can you talk about that? Because, I mean, one of my favorite things was you play corner, but you also teach about the wide receiver routes. And
Yeah,
so that was one of my favorite videos that you did, teaching about the wide receiver routes. I remember, I believe it's the Sun route you did recently, and you
yeah,
were describing that. So can you go into how you got onto TikTok and how you decided to use your platform?
So big thing was, with this virus happening, and I said, you know what, I need to do something. I'm not just gonna sit around and, I run a training business, so I'm training kids, on the fields and stuff like that. But due to the virus, I wanted to expand. I feel like I could do more, and that's something big about me and my family, and everyone I'm associated with. We're big time helpers, and we do everything we can to help and give back. That's how I was raised. So, I said, okay, what's something I could do? What's one way I could easily reach a lot of people? And I said, okay, TikTok. So then I was like, I was kind of like, at first I was like, I don't know, maybe it's not good. But, I got on it. As soon as, first post, kids are loving me. And, I'm able to coach, kids all over the nation, all over the world, honestly, just virtually online and, just giving them hope and, teaching them stuff. Not only I do motivation, I do football, I do, all sports, I do life in general. So I'm able to not only coach them as sports, but in life in general. And I think, there's more people like young men like me in my position. We definitely need to do that more. And I feel like that's definitely my responsibility. And that's something I will always continue to do in my life because it's required. You got to give back. And I feel like, that's what I need to do. But yeah, TikTok really exploded for me. And it's very successful. The kids love me. They're able to learn, and I'm able to teach them pro stuff. That's part of the reason why I actually started my company, Undefeated Sports Training. It's an online football training program, and it's called Train the Pro Way. So I'm teaching these kids same way I learned from my cousins and all my other family members, who also played in the NFL and stuff. I wanted to teach them at an early age about habits and just being prepared and knowing exactly what to do. So not only can they excel on the field, but also off the field as well with my motivation and my family advice. So pretty much it's a whole setup. Pretty much my goal is, I want these kids to be training at a pro level at a very young age so they can, set themselves up for success.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the awesome part about the whole social media age we're in and what happened during quarantine. Because like we told you before we started recording, it was
Yeah.
Nate and Ryan, who's our other co-host. They started this, and it was just a really cool idea to be able to talk football because
Yeah.
that's our outlet at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We couldn't
Exactly.
see each other, and then they got me on here, and we've just been rolling ever since. And I think it was one of the best decisions that we could have made because
Yeah.
it was a way for us to be able to have an outlet and also try and create a platform, especially with at least me and Ryan, the sports field. Definitely, like I want to be a journalist, so
Yeah.
this is helping me out. And
Yeah.
something I've spoken to is enjoying the journey, enjoying what's going on, and just practice. Like you mentioned before, preparation is key.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, when we have our football players on, one of the things that we like to do is project everyone's story to our audience.
Mhm.
People that play football obviously have a ton to learn from what we talk about in terms of on the field stuff. When people tell us like what's the toughest part of the position you play, stuff like that. But off the field also, I think that pretty much everyone that listens, whether they're a football fan, a football player, or neither of the two, there's a
Yeah.
ton to learn. From stories like yours, from stories like others that we've heard. There's always a lot to learn, and something that like during quarantine when you're at your house during this whole virus, uh, there are still things to do, and one of those things is to learn from others. One of those things is to keep on working out, keep on grinding at home,
Yeah.
and yeah. So besides TikTok, besides spreading your message there, what are some other things that you've been doing personally during quarantine?
Really just, working on myself, really the business. I've been having a lot of time. Normally, I've been in training camp by now, or, with OTAs and stuff like that. So, I had a lot of time to work on that. And you really just, my main mission during this whole quarantine time was to reach kids and help them out. That was my number one mission because I know like a lot of their seasons are getting canceled and, they don't have nowhere to work out. And I'm showing them ways to work out at home or to, go to a park and train and get better, and keep preparing yourself. So that was primarily my main focus of, building my business and, helping, other young men like me and, kids of all sports, figure out a way to, get better and, continue, pursuing their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's for me, not to get too controversial, not necessarily controversial, but as as a black male in society nowadays, it's definitely a plus when I see someone who's like me mentoring, because that's something I think that's absolutely necessary, that we need to be able to move forward and be able to be comfortable with having mentors. And I think having a social media platform, or even just being able to post your workouts, I think is definitely a plus for us moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I have kids reaching out to me all the time, especially with the world events going on, and they're saying, I'm dealing with this, or someone thinks this about me, and how do you deal with criticism, and, when people are saying negative things, and, for me to be able to, be that mentor, when I go live and they ask questions like that, it's priceless for me. It's something money can't buy. And that's, like I tell everyone, I don't care about the fame or nothing like that. My main goal is to help, that's my riches in life. The bigger I hope my platform is big, not to be, money or fame or nothing like that, but it's just really to just impact more kids. So when things like this happen, I could really get a stronghold on all of them, steer them in that right direction. So, this is something I love doing. It's something I'll definitely continue doing, for forever.
Definitely. I think my favorite quote that I've heard is, like, if you enjoy what you're doing, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Just you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. I enjoy helping kids. That's part of the reason why, after my football career is over, I'll be a full-time trainer, a mentor, and motivational speaker, and I'll go around and talk to kids and train and all that stuff, so they can, just learn from, the best people around.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just had one more question. If you had to rank your favorite, or your top 5 favorite corners right now in the league, other than yourself, who would you say?
Well, I have 3 favorites. First is, my family down there in Sacramento, Terrence Mitchell. He's definitely my favorite. He plays for the Browns right now. He's definitely a guy I looked up to. Second is, Brandon Thompson. That's my big brother right there. He taught me a lot. And third would be Deion Sanders. Outside of those 3, I don't care about no other DBs. But those 3 are my favorite. They taught me, those 2 guys, Brandon Thompson and Terrence Mitchell. They taught me everything I know. So, shout out to them in the Sacramento area, because I'm from Sacramento, but I live in Denver now. So, those guys, they're definitely my favorite DBs.
Oh, yeah. Deion Sanders is one of my favorites, too. Mostly because, Nate knows I'm a Cowboys fan. So
Okay.
I love Deion Sanders for, all them years in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But with that, that's gonna pretty much do it for our show. Thank you so much, Marcus, for coming on. Do you got any last things that you want to say to our audience?
Just everyone watching, keep working hard. Stay tuned, follow up with my story and my journey, as I'm, working my way back to the NFL, and I'm training hard. Also, I have a Undefeated Sports online training, football training, but it's, it can be geared for all sports and, all athletes of all ages. So you can visit it at undefeatedsports.co, and it's available now. You can train the pro way, from nutrition courses, recruiting, weight training, field training, family advice, recovery, pretty much everything you need to know to be successful. And, I thank you guys for, viewing in and watching this. And, like I always say, keep dominating the day.
Absolutely, Marcus. Keep dominating the day. Everyone, be sure, go take Marcus's word seriously. Go check out what he's doing. It's really some amazing stuff over there. And Dorian, my wonderful co-host, do you have anything else to close this out here?
I just want to say thank you for coming on. It's a huge honor for us to be able to have you. And for our listeners, make sure you go follow him on TikTok at Marcus_Rios, and on Instagram at Marcus Rios Official. You got some awesome content, like he said. And yeah, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you guys. And, I wish you guys nothing but the best.
Yeah, you too, Marcus. And thank you, everyone, for listening.